What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Monday, June 24th, 2024, and we are back with another stream here on the Torian Ram Reloaded channel. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit that like button, hit that share button, hit the subscribe button if you're new, and if you are new, welcome to the channel. Hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. Also, shout out to everybody who is a member here on the channel. Shout out to everybody that is over on Patreon. Also, I hope y'all really took heed to the community tab post that I made this morning about the future of the True Crime Sundays live streams that I will be doing going forward. Those will be over on Patreon when I do them. I'll probably go into like a little bit more detail if people don't really understand it. Probably maybe at the end of the stream. That way it's more people in here to actually hear what I have to say when it pertains to that, because yeah, that was something else. But anyway, let me go ahead now and acknowledge the people who are here in the chat. We have Kid Gravity. I don't think Kid Gravity is here right now because I think this is a comment he definitely left last night. But shout out to him, Craig Colson, Neo Panther, AK Sour God, Hacksign KT, Black by Popular Demand, Barbara Davis, Demarcus Vaughn, Dimpleface, Lisa Hickman, Jerry Bedford, Trill Fate, Jacoby, Derek Parker, Profess the Film Fan, The Prince of Paraphernalia, Patricia Slade, Wallow J, Tawana Cook, Dark Titan, Chris Vesey, David Green, Bills Fan 1970, Weldon Johnson X, DSM Sinister, DJ, Mr. Williams, Black Visions, Robert Brown, Dewani, David, I think I said David's name, Deneen, UJM Beck, and that is it so far. Okay, so we are here today to talk about Wendell Pierce. Now, I think everybody in this chat is familiar with Wendell Pierce. You know, definitely well-respected actor. I mean, this guy has been in a slew of television shows and movies for the last couple of decades. I mean, I've been seeing this man ever since the 90s. And, you know, he has a very successful career. Honestly, I think he should have more than what he has, considering how talented of an actor that he is. But he recently faced some discrimination when it came to the housing market, or him trying to rent an apartment. And he basically went and told his story, and he posted it up on X. Now, one of the posts we're going to go over today is a post that he actually typed up, that he wrote on X, and, you know, his grievances and what's going on. And the other one's going to be in the form of a video, which is a clip in which he was interviewed by Abby Phillip over at CNN. And that's why, if you look at the thumbnail, it says you are not exempt. Just understand this. If you are a person in that industry and you are Black, you can face the same discriminations that a person who is nowhere near your tax bracket can face. We have talked about numerous stories before of people in that industry who are Black, who have gone through all kinds of discrimination. And unfortunately, it's not going to end anytime soon. It doesn't matter what your name is, who your name is, who you know, or the amount of money that you've accrued over the time of your career. When you are in the system of Dub S, just know that system supersedes all. So we have 104 people in here. Shout out to y'all again. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, to go ahead and hit that like button. So the first thing we're going to go over is this post that he made on June 3rd, 2024. So it says, and this is his official X account. It says, for those of you who don't understand my righteous anger, I'm on 2 TV series, Elsbeth and Raising Kanan. I'm filming Superman. So right now, already he's starting off and he's giving off his resume. But like I told you, in the system of white supremacy, they could care less about that. It's a system. They don't care. As far as they're concerned, you're still making us money. So, I mean, it is what it is. And shout out to Wallow J for being a member for 3 months. I greatly appreciate, excuse me, trying to get my mouse over here. I greatly appreciate it.
Busy up here. Woo! I got money.
Shout out to you, Wallow J. I appreciate it. But back to what I was saying. In a system of Dub S, they could care less about that. They don't care about your resume. Again, you are in a system where you're making them money. So that's all that really matters at the end of the day. And a lot of the people that are in this, who are outside of this industry, a lot of them don't care about Hollywood in the first place. So don't be surprised when a lot of people don't know who you are. We know who Wendell Pierce is. Those who are into television or in that industry know who he is. But whoever he was dealing with in this situation probably genuinely doesn't know who he is, especially if he's dealing with stuff like that. And then on top of that, they saw you as a black man. They don't care. Remember what happened with Terrell Owens back in 2022 when he faced that discrimination from that white woman because he was in that nice neighborhood, and y'all remember that story. Of course, we always talk about the Dr. Dre one. Now, what do these three men have in common? Besides the fact that they're all in the entertainment-esque industry. One is with music, one is a former athlete, and one is an actor. All three of them are successful black men who live a certain lifestyle. So there's always going to be some level of jealousy there, some level of envy, because in their eyes, that's one too many, or in this case, one too three many black men. That's way too successful. So you got to really take that into consideration. There are people out here that are very envious of these men who are basically dominating or were dominating in their craft. Exactly, Deneen. Look at how they did Jonathan Majors, and shout out to Professor Black Truth. That was his moment of truth address this morning. He very, very, very good. I honestly wasn't expecting Professor Black Truth to actually do a moment of truth on that. He even said he didn't plan on doing it. But I'm seeing y'all list the examples. Janine said Jonathan Majors. David said Michael Irvin. Also, look at Denzel. When he had Katie Couric try to lie on him twice. Nate Parker. I mean, the list goes on and on. Well, I was going to give an example, but that wouldn't have been a good example. But y'all pretty much get it. It does not matter. At the end of the day, you're still a black man. And B1 to you, Wilson's 4. Robert Brown said Michael Rainey Jr. And that just happened. And look at how buried that story is now. You don't see that just happened. That just happened like a week and a half ago. And nobody's talking about it anymore. It was one of the things here today. Blinken is gone tomorrow. Jamie Foxx is another one. So it doesn't matter where you are in this industry as a black man. You're a black man in this industry, and that for them is a problem. So let me go ahead and continue going. He said, 2 years ago, I finished the 4th season of Jack Ryan. Last year, I finished a run on Broadway in Death of a Salesman. Even with my proof of employment, bank statements, and real estate holdings, a white apartment owner denied my application to rent the apartment in Harlem, of all places. So now I see why he listed the resume. He listed the resume to tell people that, yes, I am a successful actor. I've been in this industry for many years. I have a very good resume. People know who I am. I've not been nominated and won many awards over my career. But at the end of the day, I can still get treated like a regular black person any day. Basically, when I said on the thumbnail, you were not exempt, that was basically him saying it to himself. Yes, I have all of this, but at the end of the day, I know my position still as a black man in America. Now, Wendell Pierce has been one of the more solid people in Hollywood, because we all know that Hollywood, as far as the black entertainers go, a lot of them are very shaky. But I haven't seen or heard anything about Wendell being off code. So that's why it's very easy for us to, get behind him on situations such as these, because at least he's acknowledging that it exists, because some of them will turn a blind eye in a heartbeat. He said racism and bigots are real. There are those who will do anything to destroy life's journey for black folks. When you deny our personal experiences, you are as vile and despicable. So that was his post right there that he put up on X. And like I said, he, as a person who's out there in that industry, yes, I'm sure he loves what he does. After all, he's been doing this since the 90s, maybe even before. It's just that I got exposed to him in the 90s. And he's still very much an active participant in that industry that he loves being in. But he's not turning a blind eye to what goes on as far as him and others in that industry who look just like him. But like I said, too bad that too many others don't acknowledge it out of fear of whatever reason. And this was his experience. And like I said, his experience is not unique either. We just gave you a couple of examples. And of course, you had some people that decided they were going to troll in his comment section, like this person right here. Says, nobody cares. What's your credit score? Now, you heard this man literally run down his entire resume. He's currently active, and you're asking this man what's his credit score. First of all, that's none of your damn business. And if you must know, his credit score has to be pretty damn good. Probably better than who wrote this post. And it says, what's your income like the last 6 months? It's like, did you not read what he just wrote, or you just purposely came into the comments to troll? Then he says, how much is the rent? What's your renter history? How do your answers to these questions compare to the other applicants? Oh, wait, who cares about that, right? It's just all racism. Let's not forget the history in this establishment when it comes to the housing industry, or the housing market, I should say, when it comes to Black people versus white people in getting these homes. How many stories have we heard where Black families, like a Black couple, and I've talked about them on my channel, where a Black couple literally had to get their white friend to go and pretend to be the homeowner to get a good appraisal on the home? They would have to remove every trace of them in that home, pictures, anything, and put up pictures of, say, the white person that they got as an installment in the home just so they can get a good appraisal. We've heard them types of stories so many times. We have a Black couple who got way less of an appraisal rate on their home, and then when they went and got a white person to install to pretend to be them, the appraisal rate went up. And sometimes it exceeded what it was supposed to. We've heard that so many times. And when I say so many times, I'm talking about recently, within the last couple of years. Robert Brown said Black families have been denied loans from banks and from redlining to live in better, affluent neighborhoods. And it still goes on to this day. So when people try to pretend like it's a thing of the past, yeah, they're trolling like this person right here. So that's the post that Wendell Pierce wrote up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play this clip from CNN. And it's actually in relation to the Fearless Fund that was pretty much put to rest, thanks to Ed Blum, for Black women. And Wendell is being interviewed about that. And of course, I believe he's speaking on the recent situation with his housing, or the renter of the apartment renting. All right, y'all, let's get it.
Wendell, great to see you and have you on the show. We went through some of the credits of your career, but there are many others. Elsbeth and Raising Canaan. You're currently filming Superman. Last year, you finished a Broadway run of Death of a Salesman. 2 years ago, you were in the Jack Ryan series. You're a famous actor. You're an award-winning actor. 30 years of a career behind you.
And by the way, y'all, he is filming Superman. Like, for those of y'all who are unaware, I mean, we already mentioned it, and he is playing Perry White, and it's like I can tell that I don't know, he might be on the set. Not maybe he's working on it, but he's not on the set right now. But I'm looking at his attire, and that's very Perry White-ish, at least for the run that they're doing with his character. So, yeah, that's interesting. Like, he's literally doing this interview right now in the middle of filming what is supposed to be big movie.
What happened with that Harlem apartment, and what does it say to you about the status of racism in America today?
Well, I gave that anecdote about what happened to me because I wanted to make it a very personal story so people could understand what I was really incensed about. I was motivated to tell the story because of the court case that the 11th Circuit blocked yesterday. It ignited something in me. So I wanted to tell the personal story. A young family member graduated from Howard University, has his first job in New York. I take him apartment shopping, and I wanted to make sure that he got a decent apartment, and I was backing him up. We found an apartment in Harlem. I gave them all of my bank statements and employment and all, and then I was denied. And I realized that they used the technicality of saying that I did not have steady, consistent employment. Most actors work in 3-month periods.
Yeah, like if y'all don't know, when it comes to acting like this, it's a gig economy. That I've said that before when we were talking about the writer's strike last year. Acting is a gig economy. Basically, you get paid by the gig. It's not like your standard 9 to 5 that you go to work every single day, Monday through Friday, for a certain amount of hours per day, and you get a steady paycheck every 2 weeks. When it's a gig economy, you get paid by the project, whether it's a movie, a television show, a commercial, or some kind of an endorsement or something like that. That's how they get paid. That's why when they was doing the writer's strike last year, a lot of them were going through it, because with the writer's strike and then it turned into an actor strike, they couldn't work. The writers couldn't write, the actors couldn't act. So they literally had to hopefully invest properly before that. That's why you had Silly Porter all going crazy talking about, I'm gonna have to move out of my house. You know, his partner left him. The writer's strike was happening. The show got tanked that he was supposed to be on because of the writer's strike. Now where he at? Over there kissing Biden's hand at the White House. Exactly, John, son, like a contractor. That's another way of putting it. It's like a contractor. It's a contracting gig. They don't fill out a W-2. Theirs is like a 1099 and probably some other tax form that I'm not even familiar with. Appreciate that, Mr. Red. Now, I'm going to run that back a little bit because I want y'all to understand what he's saying, because he said he was trying to get this apartment for somebody else. So it sounds to me like he wasn't even doing this for himself. It was for somebody else.
Racism in America today.
Well, I gave that anecdote about what happened to me because I wanted to make it a very personal story so people could understand what I was really incensed about. I was motivated to tell the story because of the court case that the 11th Circuit blocked yesterday. It ignited something in me. So I wanted to tell the personal story. A young family member graduated from Howard University, has his first job in New York. I take him apartment shopping.
So there it is right there. So the apartment that he was getting was not for him. It was for a family member of his that graduated from Howard University. And he was, I guess, in a way, this is probably, maybe, I guess you could say, be seen maybe as a gift for this family member for graduating. And maybe that you, like they say, got a job up there so they can be good. Because, you know, I don't live in New York, but from what I've heard, to live in New York is very expensive, even on the low end. We don't even want to talk about the high end, like on West 52nd Street. Kid Gravity, if you're in the chat, help me out here. Wherever Billionaires Row is, we ain't going to talk about how much it costs to live over there.
And I wanted to make sure that he got a decent apartment, and I was backing him up. We found an apartment in Harlem. I gave them all of my bank statements and employment and all, and then I was denied. And I realized that they use the technicality of saying that
Reparations Nation says biggest just say anti-black, white racist, white supremacists. Listen, they probably, I'm gonna be honest with you. I can only imagine what some of them actually say, and then they say, oh, we can't put that up there because it's too extreme. I bet you some people up there that probably want to call them all kinds of names, but for the optics, do you think that would actually look good right there in that headline? Now, for us, we have no problem doing it, but we're not a CNN. We're not an MSNBC. We're not even Fox News. So I can imagine what they really want to, if they really wanted to put that in the headline, but they said, let's put a PC version of what they said up here. Oh, there's KG right there. He says the median apartment in New York is $4,500. Is that a month? That is crazy. That is crazy. Listen, you know what you can do with $4,500? That's a couple months rent. That's a couple of car notes, a phone bill, lights. Like you could pay a lot of annuities for that with that. So think you got to have $4,500 per month for a median apartment in New York is insane. Now I see why a lot of people that's in New York are moving to the South. Moving to Texas, because Texas they don't pay state income tax. They only pay one, federal. And I heard the housing market down there is way better. Way better. That's exactly why a lot of people from New York move and transplant their ass to the South. And Kid Gravity, I'm sure you can attest to this because you are from New York and you now currently live in Atlanta.
I did not have steady, consistent employment. Most actors work in 3-month periods, 3 months here, 3 months there. And because it wasn't a continuum of employment, no matter how much income I showed them, I own properties around the country. I showed them all my bank statements. I even offered to pay a year in advance, the complete rent for a year, and I was denied.
So you heard what he said right there. He said he paid the rent for this apartment for his family member a whole year in advance, and he was still denied, all because they claim because it wasn't a steady income. Because they have to see proof that you can pay this monthly. And if you tell them and show them that you are in a gig economy, they say, yeah, we'll be good for a couple of months, but a couple of months isn't 12 months. And he just told y'all or told us that he had this paid for up to a whole year in advance. So that means his family member was good. All the money that they would have been making would have been their money. Of course, the smart thing would to stack up that money. So when that year is done, they'll be able to carry the finances themselves. But to give them a leg up, he decided, I'm going to pay this rent a whole year in advance, the whole 12 months, which again is not cheap in New York. And he was still denied. I'm curious though. They said it was in Harlem. I wonder where at in Harlem, because Harlem has been gentrified since like 2008. When they decided they was going to have the VMAs there back in 2008, when it used to be at Radio City Music Hall downtown in Times Square, like in Manhattan. That's when Harlem became gentrified. So Harlem has been gentrified since like 2008. I remember when that happened. So it makes me wonder, where at in Harlem is this apartment complex and how much a month is the rent?
I realized that was by design, that the application was.
KG said if Harlem, he was looking at over 2,000 at minimum.
Designed that way to be discriminatory. And that was the anecdote that I shared because I wanted to show the damaging effect of when bigotry is memorialized in law. And when the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal overturned a Black firm supporting Black women, saying that that was discriminatory.
Now, keep this in mind, y'all, about when he's talking about the Fearless Fund with the Black women. That fund was the money going into that was coming from those women. That wasn't coming from an outside source. That wasn't coming from the government. That was, I'll put it like this. That was them pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. That was them funding their own cause. Much like when we funded Microphone Check for Tariq, to get that put out there, that was them putting their own funds in. And they still shut it down and had the nerve to say and spin it into, oh, you're being discriminatory against other groups. Like the amazing Lucas says, lineage of evil. Ed Blum was at the head of that happening.
I realized that was the canary in the mine for where we are right now, that we are being attacked and memorializing law that is discriminatory against Black folks, their own self-determination. And so I felt as though I should use my platform to put out a clarion call.
Yeah, what you're talking about here is the Fearless Fund. This is a Black-owned venture capitalist firm that awards grants exclusively to Black women. It's a fund that exists because of a disparity in access to capital for Black female entrepreneurs. But
and I have to actually speak to that because Professor Black Truth actually did a moment of truth about this when this first happened about 2 weeks ago. And he said something that for some reason, a lot of people don't want to address when it comes to the Fearless Fund. Granted, I'm glad that, these women actually pulled their money together to get something like this started. That means they got on code with each other and said, you know what, since they're not going to do something for us, we're going to pull our money together and we're going to do something for these women. Because we know Dub S ain't going to do it. We know they're not going to do it. And we see how they reacted to it. They shut it down. But one thing he said is that while that's all good and all, why weren't Black men included in that? And you know what? That's a question that a lot of people was wondering too. Why weren't Black men included in that, as if they could not contribute to that or had a place in that, I guess, in that organization? See, imagine if you had Black men included into that, how much harder it would have been for Ed Blum to shut that down. And they were banking that wasn't going to happen. That was literally an example of a divide and conquer tactic that worked like a charm. Y'all remember when Obama, and follow me here. Remember when Obama had the whole My Brother's Keepers program? That was probably the only thing I can ever think of that he was going to do specifically for Black men and boys, because there wasn't really any organization out there for Black men and boys at the time. And what was so upsetting is you had a lot of off-code women. Notice I said off-code. I didn't say I said off-code. Women, mostly them third-wave feminists, coming out and literally saying, why don't you incorporate the girls? If you're not going to incorporate the girls, we're going to shut it down. And what did they do? They shut it right down. So you know what? I'm not saying that what happened to these women is karma. But what I'll say is what goes around sometimes indeed comes around. And not saying these women were a part of that. I'm just saying. This is the endless cycle. Or like, and I can't believe this, before we saw how off cold he got before he became Tucker Carlson's new BFF, when Ice Cube was trying to do when he was trying to do his little thing. And he was on there with those so-called Queen's Court or whatever that thing was called on Fox Soulless. And you had all them hens literally pecking at his head when he literally said this is for black people. And they're going to say, well, what about the black women? Did you not hear when he said for black people? Yes, thank you, Robert. The contract for Black America. I couldn't think of the name of it. I was getting ready to say something else, but I was like, nah, that's not the name of it. I remember that. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, leaning back like, wow. Not that I should be shocked, but just wow. He said this is going to be that's going to benefit all of us. And y'all want to know what was going to be specific for you. As if you are separate from the group. And that was back in 2020 when that went down. I just had to point that out as it pertains to this right here. Again, this is messed up that this did indeed happen. I'm just saying, if y'all had if the women that was behind this had incorporated black men, imagine how much harder it would have been for them to try to break this down.
Court ruled that it substantially is likely to violate Title 42 of the U.S. Code that prohibits private parties from discriminating on the basis of race when making or enforcing contracts. The background here for people who are watching is that this isn't just in a vacuum. I mean, this is a part of a long time effort by certain individuals and lawyers to try to attack diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in America. How concerned are you about the broader implications of taking down this particular fund and what it would mean for any other initiatives that are trying to address the racial disparities that exist in this country today?
First of all, it's just private industry saying that they're going to support a private venture. And they are using the technicality of a Reconstruction law, Section 1981, from the late 19th century, that was protecting Black folks who were newly freed out of enslavement, to protect them, to turn it around on us. Now, for many years, the mantra from the right has always been, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So Black women put together their own capital venture and are looking for Black women to support. And now they say, no, you can't do that. So it is not only ironic, it is insidious and bigoted. What is really insidious?
I didn't catch it the first time, KG, but you caught it. But you caught it, and I caught it when you wrote it in the comment section. But I just didn't want to stop the video. But I caught it here because he said it again. He keeps bringing up the word bigoted instead of saying exactly what it is. So now it's like I kind of go back and retract what I said when I was replying to Reparations Nations, and said maybe they just took it out of context when they put it up on the screen. But no, he most likely definitely actually said it because he said it twice already. This is, to say bigoted, that's really softballing it. It's really lowballing it. Just say what it is. This is anti-black / white supremacy all in a bubble. That's really what it is, because they didn't go after any other group. When you're talking about this Fearless Fund, this was for Black women. They weren't going after white women. They weren't going after Asian women. They weren't going after them south of the Borderian women or the Native American women or the Indian women or any other group of women that I can't think of. They went specifically after Black women. when you was facing that housing, that apartment situation with your family member because they rejected it, what did they do? They affected you as a black man. And I'm assuming that your family member, I'm not sure because he didn't specify if this was a male or a female, black, that affects them as well. Don't be scared to call it what it is. Call it right down the middle, because guess what? They not scared to discriminate. So don't be scared to call out what they're doing.
It's about it is Edward Blum, who is leading that effort you were talking about, going around the country trying to stop folks from doing it. This isn't public money. This is private money. It's not a DEI program. It's actually just some black women saying we're going to support each other and making sure. $300 billion was spent by capital venturists, and only 1% of it last year went to black women. So if you don't want to give us the money and we find it within ourselves so that we can exercise our right of self-determination, and you still come after us. And here's the most insidious thing of all. Not one person is presented as being injured by that. We have to make sure that people understand that this insidious, racist decision is a Pandora's box.
I'm glad he said that. Let me run it back a little bit.
Decision is a Pandora's box that will open up more opportunities to memorialize discriminatory law.
Well, Wendell Pierce, we know you from all of your acting work, but I think everyone tonight watching will see this is obviously something that is so important to you. Thank you for sharing your story and for bringing this perspective to us tonight. Thanks so much.
All right, so there's that. So like I said, whenever we decide to do our own thing, what happens? See, when it came to Black Wall Street, they had no problem dropping bombs and destroying the town. That was then. When it came to MOVE, they had no problem dropping a duffel bag of C4 on a Philadelphia neighborhood that was enough to destroy a couple of blocks that they still left in rubble to this day. Now they know they can't simply just do that. They can't do that. So they got to get you through policy. And what Ed Blum did was through policy. And this is what we be telling people, that Dub S is indeed a system. It is more than just calling a black person the N-word. It's more than just saying Juneteenth is ghetto. It is more than saying we're going to have a mock slave auction in Black History Month. When you have the power to shut down an organization that funds itself not from government funds, but funds itself from the people that want to and choose to fund it, that is indeed a system at work. Y'all remember when I was talking about the those black people down in in Georgia, who bought that neighborhood and put all those tiny homes there? You had PC clamoring over themselves like it was World War Z, saying how wrong this was and how it was set. Oh, we're bringing back segregation. Like y'all wouldn't be happy if they did. We see the stuff that y'all post online. Many of y'all would want to have segregation come back. After all, what do you think Make America Great Again means? This shows you right here what happens when we do for self and they still have an issue with it. But because they run this system, they have the power to shut it down at will. If they cannot, of course, get their hooks into it. Now, if they get their hands into it, they'll let it run and thrive as much as they can. But of course, by the time they do that, now they own it. But if they can't do that, oh, it's time to shut it down. So it's like one of those it's one of those either or things. Either we get in and we can squeeze our way in and we bogart our way in, or you not let us in and we'll just shut down your whole operation and we'll, keep it moving. And don't even think about starting from scratch because we're going to come and shut that one down too. But with that being said, y'all, I'm going to drop the link. Feel free to come on up and share your thoughts on today's topic. But really what y'all just heard and what y'all just saw, that was true white supremacy at work. If anyone didn't have an idea of how it worked before, that is an example right there. But of course, leave it up to PC. They're gonna say that, oh, we're just making stuff up and it's all in our head, or they'll come up with an excuse. But these are the same ones out here right now crying about some anti-white. All right, first person we got up here is AW1. What's going on?
What's up, Tori?
What's going on?
Not much. All I can say is, basically, we're damned if we do and we damned if we don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like recently too with the concert at the Juneteenth concert. Yeah, Latinos complained and said why we weren't included. Come on, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm glad you brought, because spoiler alert, that's going to be my next live. I think I'm gonna go live again on Wednesday. I got
some stuff to say on that one. Gotta live out here.
That's going to be my live on Wednesday.
Oh man, it's like every other group does for themselves. Every other group has their own businesses, especially where I live. Asians got their own stuff. Latinos got their own stuff. Other white groups got their own stuff. As soon as we get our own stuff, it's racist or Martin Luther King. And I'm so sick and tired of using Martin Luther King.
You know what it is?
Go ahead.
Is that they want us to be dependent on them. Because
exactly.
Remember, it's like white supremacy is like a very strange thing. Like Dr. Neely Fully said, if you don't understand it, everything will confuse you. And the way that it pretty much works is like they put us in a position where they want us to lose, but then tell us that you have to do this, that, and the third to win, even though they didn't do that. Then we get in positions to win, and then they want us to snatch away our wins so we can get back into the position of losing, so they can continue to hammer down on us even more. It's the craziest thing.
It is. It really is. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna drop down. But yeah, it's it's basically what I just said. We damn if we do, and we damn if we don't. We can't. We lose either way. It's like if we do for ourselves, we're racist, and Martin Luther King didn't die. And then when we don't do for ourselves,
and it was their government that did it.
Exactly. All right, but I'll drop down, man. I'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you coming up. Shout out to AW1. Next up, we got Wallow J. What's going on?
How you doing, Torian? How you doing, everybody in the chat? Yeah, just like AW1 said, we can't do nothing right. Everything we do is wrong. You're wrong for going out for getting the grant. You're wrong for trying to rent an apartment and then complain about it. You're in Hollywood. You're a multimillionaire. Why are you complaining? That don't mean I'm not exempt from. He's not exempt from being exposed to racism. We all are. It don't matter if you're the poorest of the poor or you're $1 billion man. We all are going to be subject to that. And $4,500 for a apartment. Jesus Christ.
That's what I said too. That is a lot of money for an apartment.
Torian, I pay $750 for a 1-bedroom right now. That's
true. Consider yourself extremely lucky.
Man, you ain't lying. And most of the people over here that I'm in my apartment is black. I mean, some of them are with some PC and probably a couple of Mexicans, but most of us is older black folks. We just stay to ourselves and don't bother no damn body. But good God Almighty, like I said in the chat, I see why people from New York moving to North Carolina now. Jesus Christ.
That's why I said a lot of people that's from New York tend to move to the South because it's cheaper. The cost of living is way cheaper. As a matter of fact, my family on my mother's side, a lot of them were living in New York. That's where they grew up. My mother, of course, she stayed in South Carolina. They were from South Carolina, but then they moved to New York. But then my mother got adopted and stayed in South Carolina. The rest of them moved to New York, her siblings and her mother. And all of them except for one moved south. Most of them moved to Texas via Dallas. One is in North Carolina. And another one is in Virginia. So like you see, all of them for the most part moved south. Only one stayed in, and the only reason the one stayed in New York is because they had to stay there to take care of their mother, my grandmother. Yeah. That's the only reason. They had to have somebody there, and she decided to be the one to stay.
Yeah, but God no, man, it's crazy. It's a lot, and it's a lot of black folks moving down south. And I know the white folks getting pissed off. Like, we don't want all these white folk, these black people moving down here. Then you got the Puerto Ricans. I remember it's one woman I worked with. And I told her, I said, you know, when you down here, there's no enclave for y'all to hide in when you down here. Mm-hmm. They look at you. You a dark skinned Puerto Rican. They look at you. They automatically think you're black. They don't care. I said, yes, you are married to a black man and you're, and stuff like that. But they look at you, they don't, where you gonna go? She was like, I'm with y'all. I said, okay. I'm letting you know right now, cause that little enclave shit y'all do in New York ain't gonna work down here. That's why y'all stay up there and in Florida, cause y'all have y'all little enclave. When you come to the South where I'm at, forget about it. But but Wednesday stream, oh yeah, we gotta do a good ass roast with that one. Because that shit blew up on Twitter like it won't nothing. And I got some stuff to say about that too. But I'm going to drop down, man. B1.
Shout out to Wallow J for coming up. Before we get to the next person, shout out to Scoop 2003 for the 5. He said they also mad about the Kendrick Lamar concert in the comments saying Juneteenth is a made-up holiday. This coming from PC and south of the border.
It's busy up here. Woo! I got money.
Shout out to you, Scoop. Yes, that is definitely going to be the topic of discussion on Wednesday. So definitely be back here. We're going to do it at the same time, same place. Next up, we got Solo T40. What's going on?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, excellent broadcast as usual. I came in kind of late, but I just wanted to say, I wonder if anybody has shown this to Larry Elder, because he'll get up and talk about, well, there's no racism in finance, there's no racism in housing. It's Citibank did this study and blah 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 blah.
And fatherless homes, don't forget that. And don't forget the fatherless homes. You know he likes to.
Yeah, the fatherless homes. But then he'll say, well, the Citibank study concluded that it's not racism, it's credit scores. So I would like to get his opinion on this. Now, this guy, got good credit, got money and all that, and he was discriminated against. So I wonder what his excuse would be here.
Oh, to give him some time, he'll come up with one.
Yeah, well,
if he even cared, but we don't give a damn with Larry.
Of course, I know. I'm right. I'm just being kind of sarcastic, but it's just people always say there's no racism, but there's overwhelming proof, irregardless as to what class you are when you're black. And some of us don't seem to understand that. But that's all I wanted to say because I came in kind of late. So
all right, no problem.
All right.
Appreciate you coming up. Shout out to Solo T40 for coming on up. Next up, we have Defiance. What's going on?
Hey, Torian, how you doing?
Doing good.
I want to say, for one, shout out to the 2 survivors of Tulsa. They're going to fight that case and challenge the Oklahoma Supreme Court's decision. I do want to say this. My grandma experienced something like this here in Portland, Oregon a few years back. And it had to go to arbitration. You can find on OregonLive.com, Josephine Gant. This lady went to a different zip code to devalue her home. She just wanted to know what the appraisal was. She wasn't asking to sell her home. And I can't speak beyond that part because it went to arbitration and there's a clause. But look, truth be told, before all that happened, we went to the Scanner, which was a Black-owned newspaper. They didn't want to take the story. We went to the observatory. They didn't want to take and that's a Black-owned. And my homie, he was like, Jacoby, we can protest out front of this real estate place, but then my grandma, she found like a pro bono attorney, like through Elders and Acts or something like that, or legal aid. And I said, well, what are we going to do about the discrimination? What about compensation? Like, compensation? No, we're not going to get no compensation. No, we just want to make sure she can keep her home. I was like, these are two white folks. I said, when their eyes bucked, I mean, I've never seen their eyes buck before like that before. What do you mean money? What do you mean? Yeah, because she was on the cusp of losing her home. She
Mhm.
still has her home, but it caused a whole lot of financial issues. And and that's what they say. They're not always going to call you the N word or anything. Well, they kind of did, but they're not always going to call you the N. They're going to do it through the most devious ways.
Oh
And
yeah,
so,
like I said, they don't have to. That's why I said calling someone an N-word, that's very surface level. That's very
yeah,
surface level.
and
And usually that's targeted at an individual or just a few people. But when you
yeah,
have something like this going on, that's a system at work here. When you have the power to shut something down like that, like what Ed Blum did, even
yeah,
though that wasn't that wasn't even a government funded organization, that was their money,
right.
that says something. That's a system right there at work. When's the last time you saw that happen with any other group, especially them?
And the mistake they made, unfortunately, like Professor Black Drew said, you made it about a gender. So it
Yeah.
was easy for them to just to pick that
Mm-hmm.
apart. And
Exactly.
and so you see other Jewish organizations, they make them all inclusive, but they divvy it up in their own way. You see other organizations, they don't say just for women such and such. It is inclusive, and they're a part. So they're gonna have. I hope they learn their lesson from that. But it just shows you that they don't want you to get ahead at all,
Yeah.
and they want to just keep you down and stuff like that. And so I just say, let the lesson be learned about conquer and divide. Conquer and divide is a very dangerous tactic. Without you don't even have to fire a shot. You don't even have to fire a shot, and you can do divide and conquer. So I just want to land my plane there, Torian.
All right. Appreciate you coming up. Shout out to Defiant for coming on up. Next up, we have Chief Jonesy. What's going on?
What's going on? Big one to chat out organics to the land. But yeah, the situation I would agree with the last caller. We gotta be more strategic in the naming and the you know what I'm saying, the covers of our little business and endeavors. You see what I'm saying? To throw off the ones that's looking for that just in the name. You see, we gotta get past the name and just use other references that would denote that or you know what I'm saying, denote those, you know what I'm saying, sentiments, but just not on a surface level where they can attack you like this. Because the same dude that did that with that affirmative action, yeah. But I think that we on the flip side, we should start going to some of these Mexican, Latino, or other organizations and applying for their benefits or whatever. And then we would have the same theoretically and in concept the same, you know what I'm saying, discriminatory practice or something that we could take them to court. See, that's what we don't got. We don't got advocates that'll take stuff to court because that's what we really gonna have to start getting stuff. You see now getting stuff stopped and changed immediately. We gotta sue these folks. But we don't got that type on our side that, you know what I'm saying, advocate for that because they're all bought out in the fraternities and sororities and of, you know what I'm saying, other little institutionalized, you see what I'm saying, of society. So that are ran and funded by the ones ultimately that are against us as well. So but that's what I think we need. But I agree with the last, you know what I'm saying, the last caller as far as the little Latinos want to be hating. Everybody wants to be involved when we're getting critical, when we're getting demonized. Like, right? It's never like no crimes against people of color. You see what I'm saying? But it's always that when we try to go forward, we're getting something that we say tangibles or trying to get some resources. Nobody's ever a part of this shit a part of this stuff when somebody's attacking us. But as soon as it's time for us to get up and we get some credit or we getting, you know what I'm saying, some movement, we start a new trend, then everybody wants to, you know what I'm saying, tag along.
Of
You see
course,
what I'm saying?
that's why that's why that's where the name tether comes from. Like a leech, and they attach themselves to something once something gets going, but they're never there at the grassroots level. When they are there at the grassroots level, they're attacking it. I mean, like I always say this when it comes to reparations. When the topic of reparations started to really start to kick off a little bit, like start to make a little steam, you had people out there clowning it and saying, "Oh, this is not going to go far." Y'all talking about it today. Ha ha ha! It'll be gone next week. Here we are in 2024, about
everybody
a good maybe
see.
5. Now everybody has something to say about it. Whether they say, "Oh, we need to get this," like, no, who is we? When did we start speaking French? saying things like, "Oh, y'all are wrong for this. Who's going to pay for it? I'm not paying for it." We know you're not paying for it. Is your name the U.S. government?
Right.
But
That's
see,
the
that's
only
the thing.
part.
But they telling themselves. I didn't mean to cut you off, but they telling themselves, because when they hear U.S. government, they throw a demographic on there. They say, "Oh, the U.S. government. Oh, that's white people." So they see themselves in that same entity. Like, oh, if they're paying for it, then I have to pay for it. No, that would come directly from them. I mean, if you want to make a little small donation, go right on ahead.
But see, in the back of their mind, they know it's not going to directly come out of their pocket. So that's a bad face little response. That just shows your anti-blackness right there in that thought. Nobody's going to come bill collecting for the reparations payment for the month. But see, that's the extremeness that these people have to go to justify the illogical, positions that they have.
I'm not sure. Have you heard this show called Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you watch the third season?
I haven't seen the third season. I have not.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Well, okay. So it was an episode in the third season of Atlanta. It was a reparations episode, and basically, what happened was you had this white guy. He is a white guy. I think he was a single father. He had an estranged wife. He had a daughter. And he was just a regular working guy and everything like that. And then one day he gets a knock on the door from this black woman, basically saying she had a deed that basically said that she owned the property in which he lived in. And she was coming to get things from the property, as far even stuff from in the house to add up. And like for those of y'all who's watched Atlanta know exactly what episode I'm talking about. And to make a long story short, basically the guy ended up losing his he ended up having to pay them out of his check, because his check was being garnished and everything like that, because he was already paying child support to the mother, and now he had to pay another additional charge to the people who he owed in reparations. And he ended up having to get another job working as a working in the kitchen or working as a waiter in a restaurant. I said, I bet you it was some white people that saw that episode and got shook.
It was a white person that wrote it up. There's a white person behind that production and that script as well. I guarantee it has to, because that was just a low key way to kind of
no. That show that's by Donald Glover. Like, he's behind I think him and his brother did most of the writing for that show.
Because that's before that, but that's clearly how all of them think. But like I said, that's just in the back of their mind, just something to try to apply to themselves to give them a reason to say no or be against it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because they have to make it seem like a direct, a direct attack on them. They got to make it personal for them to come out, in opposition, which is sad. That's the.
And also in that episode that I thought was so funny was that is that when they were in the office that he worked at, it was all the black people was outside protesting for their reparations, and you had the white people in the office literally going on 23andMe and Ancestry to try to trace back to see they had some black ancestry, so they didn't have to pay.
Yeah. I
thought that was so funny. That was a good episode. But if you ever get a chance, go watch that episode and you'll see what I mean. It's funny as hell. It's funny. It's funny as hell. But it's like, if that was to really happen, man, they would be jumping out the windows left and right.
Yes, bro. Yes. And then on the flip side, if you would have went back and found your little quote unquote black, heritage in the first place, then that would have led to, that would automatically, by proxy gave us support. We would have been having all, well, we got to pull y'all's card and bring y'all to the carpet genetically. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Dr. Fauci's science. So let's follow the science of your genealogical heredity up in this mug. Mm. But yeah, I'll drop that. That's all I wanted to go up there and say. But I'll let the next caller come up. B1.
Shout out to Chief Jonesy. But before I come to the next person, shout out to Darius Campbell for the 10. I appreciate it. So just showing love.
It's busy up here. I got money.
Shout out to you. And next up, we got Richard. What's going on?
How you feeling today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, what you said was very key. It's divide and conquer, divide and rule. That started Roman Empire, and that's what they've done: divide and conquer, and divide and rule. As we get through, and we are the only group here who has bought into American individualism. It doesn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
but they get some people in our culture who say, "Oh, I can make it on my own outside the people," and of course they sell out and they rise to a certain level, and then they shoot them down.
Yeah.
So the thing to take from it is the only thing we have in this country is each other. And really, that is enough if we stay on code and we have and work with each other. I just want to reference one thing. There was a study done in the first year of the Civil War, 1860, I believe it was. They said the value of the slaves in this country was more than all the banks, the factories, all the industries, all the money and agricultural assets in the country. The slaves
Yeah.
were the most valuable thing.
As a
And
matter of
in
fact,
fact,
slaves was on the New York Stock Exchange.
yeah, if you had collateral, if you wanted to borrow some money, you said, "Well, I got this land." No, no. How many slaves you got? So we are the economy. So
Mm-hmm.
we just have to operate it. I just remember I'm a baby boomer, but I remember we took pride in patronizing black businesses, and that's gone. This generation hasn't seen shopkeepers, the okey doke they sold us that we had to get into corporate America. What was wrong with running the shops and things in your own community? So now the children, now they think everything comes from a gas station, and it's nobody behind that counter that looks like you. So the Bible says, "Don't despise the time of small beginnings." There's things we can do on a small level to get. We are not a lazy people, but we got the laziest money of any people because it does not work for us. It's in our hand and in the other. It's like the
Like liquid.
tilt in a machine, a pinball machine. Bang, and it's gone. So we got to change that.
Right.
So B1, you had a great topic, great program.
Appreciate it. B1. Shout out to Richard. And the last person we got up here, I don't know who this is. I want to say it might be KG, but I could be wrong. McNulty's conscience.
McNulty didn't have a conscience until he got with the bunk.
I should have known. I should have known. What's going on, KG?
Same old as same old. His brother in the kitchen cooking, and he was cooking on his live. So what it is?
Hold on, what you cooking over there?
I made some roast chicken and some light summer pasta, and I'm making popcorn for the baby.
Nice.
But yeah, shout out to Wendell Pierce because I actually went back and forth with it last year over racism, but it was all love. It was all love. But I sent you something in your DM. Now, if you thought this apartment story was crazy, you need to look up his story when he went on American Airlines. Now, they were going to throw him off the flight because he said all the overhead bins were full, and he asked to put his bag in first class. They were talking about they were going to remove him from the plane.
I'm looking at it now. For being difficult, we know what that means.
We know what that means. So I understand that and for those in the chat that don't know, he does talk a lot about racism on X, but like I said in the chat, he probably didn't want to say anything to bring undue attention to the movie. They're looking at any little thing, because so far, from what I've seen, there's no problems on set. Everybody's getting along. The work is doing well, so they're just looking for anything.
Yeah.
So, but again, like everybody said, we're black. We already know this. Everything we're gonna do is gonna get scrutinized. Everything that we try to do, now they're gonna want to come outside on. Know what they can't come outside on? I'm gonna go affirmative action. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to cooking. So.
All right. Appreciate you coming up.
Yes.
Shout out to KG, aka McNulty's conscience, for coming up. And before I end this stream, I told y'all I was going to address the situation with the True Crime Sundays in going forward. So put a 1 in the chat if y'all saw the post that I made earlier today on my community tab. It's the one I made earlier this morning. Put a 1 if you saw it in there. Put a 2 if you didn't. It's probably a lot of 2s because it wasn't that much engagement on that post. It was like 13 likes. But then again, most of y'all probably did see it. Okay, Wallow J said 1. Tedra said 1. Scoop said 2. PD said 2. Noble said 2. Robert said 2. Okay, it's a lot of 2s. Okay. All right. So going forward, the True Crime Sundays that I do every other Sunday is going to be on Patreon. The reason being is because of copyright issues that I've been having doing those streams. But this most recent one that I had with the Lorenzen Wright one was the one that the straw that broke the camel's back. So basically what happened was I got an email, like one of those automated YouTube emails at like 2 in the morning, and I didn't see it till I got up. And they blocked that video globally. So you couldn't see it. So if you didn't watch it or you weren't in the chat at the time when that was going on, you wouldn't be able to see it. Luckily for me, it wasn't a strike or it wasn't a copyright strike or anything like that. But I ended up taking out all the copyrighted material. But me taking out all the copyrighted material from that video means that I ended up having to only be left with 42 minutes of an hour and a half long video. Also meaning that the only thing that was there was the commentary that I made in between pausing the video and the conversations that I was having with the panel at the end who was coming up to discuss the situation at hand. So all of the details was cut out. So when I removed all of that stuff, the block was removed. But what I did was I ended up making all of the True Crime Sunday streams members only. Going forward, all the True Crime Sundays, like the lives, are going to be on Patreon. And I have it at a $3 tier, which is the lowest tier. The reason being is because those only happen twice a month, opposed to the 5 and 10, because those videos come out more frequently, opposed to every 2 weeks. I downloaded all of the True Crime Sunday streams that I did off of YouTube. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to periodically throughout the week upload one every other day. I already uploaded the Lorenzen Wright one on there as a playback. Then the other one's going to do the same thing. And then everything else going forward is going to be a live in real time type of deal. And then it's going to be a way for me to do frequent lives on Patreon, which I don't do often because y'all know I do most of my lives over here. So going forward, that's where the True Crime Sundays are going to be. What I'll do is on the day before, I'll put up a screenshot of the thumbnail of what's going to happen. And I'll say, this is what the True Crime Sunday entry is going to be. If you want to come over, you can go and do it. Now, the good thing is I have it set where you can do a 7-day free trial under that tier before you have to start doing the $3 a month. So say, for instance, when I do my next True Crime Sunday, which will be on July 7th, when I put it up there, you'll be able to watch that one for free in real time. But of course, by the time I do the next one, the $3 is going to kick in, and that's monthly. So like I said, it's optional if you want to do it like that. I mean, if you want to come over and watch it. I know that I had a lot of engagement with the True Crime Sundays. Many of you were enjoying it and all of that stuff. Now, for those of you who are already on Patreon, because some of y'all are in the chat now, if you're already on Patreon and you're on the $5 and $10 tier, you don't have to worry about paying like an additional $3. You're already grandfathered in. So basically, if you're already on that tier, you are automatically inside of the $3 tier to watch the True Crime Sunday lives when I do them 2 Sundays out of the month, 2 Sundays out of every month. So that's pretty much how it's going to be going forward. I actually just posted the link to my Patreon down there in the chat. So if you want to join, go ahead. I think one person actually joined under the free trial today. Everybody else who's already over there and already subscribed, y'all are already good. And everybody else, if y'all want to see it going forward, that's completely an option to you. But I said I'm not going to stop doing these because I actually enjoy doing them. I already have a lot of these thumbnails made up. I have a whole laundry list. I probably got like 30 True Crime True Crime Sunday topics that we haven't even touched yet, of course, because we just started back in March. So I said I'm going to keep it going. And the one thing about it is because when you go live over on StreamYards over there, it's connected to YouTube, but it's unlisted. So it's not in the algorithm. So it's like a private stream where only the people who have the link can watch it. And then, of course, once the stream is done, it'll stay up on Patreon and you can catch the playback just in case you weren't active in the chat while it was live. So I just wanted to come on here and, at the end and explain that, because I know some of you weren't aware of that, even though I did put the post out, but that's the reason why I'm doing it over there. Like someone said over there, it's more than one way to skin a cat. And Patreon is popping right now. Anybody over there can tell you the stories that I be putting out over there are crazy as hell. But this is going to be an added bonus. But I just wanted to come on and end it off with that. And with that being said, I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. We will be back on here tomorrow with the 11 a.m. premiere, which is going to be the Simone Biles video based on how y'all voted in the poll. Y'all take care of yourself, be safe, and be one.